Okay, so the old school way of accessing a database in Java is to use an API called JDBC. Now what JDBC allows you to do is it allows you to write SQL statements against your database and pull them out almost as a stream. So let's take a look. All right, we've got this method called getConnection, and this is just going to create a connection to our database, and we can see that we load up the class that we're going to use. That's our database connector, and that just brings it into the class loader, and then we give it this string, and what this string allows us to specify is, all right, here's the protocol I want to access it with, here's the database, and then finally here's the database name. And notice we can just say MetroLinkDB because in our resources folder we have MetroLinkDB just in the very base package. So we get the connection, and also notice we're doing the connection in a try with resources block. Now this is something that was introduced in Java 7. Most of you guys know that if you don't do the try with resources, then you would have to put a finally block down here, and then you would close the connection down here, and then you'd also have to put a try catch around closing the exception as well. That's a lot of work, it's kind of messy. Go ahead and use the try with resources when you're doing this. And if it doesn't compile right away, remember that in IntelliJ, by default oftentimes, at least on some models, even if you've got the project SDK at 1.7, you need to make sure you've got the language level set at 7.0. It might be at 5.0, and it might not be able to understand the type of code that you're writing. So next we just create a prepared statement. You might ask, what's the difference between just a normal statement and a prepared statement? Java is actually able to compile this SQL statement compile it beforehand so it executes just a bit faster. Very simple, we execute the query. Now the next part we really have to think about it a little bit, in the fact that we would think, hey, result set, give me all of the results right away. But JDBC doesn't work that way. We have to call resultSet.next, and then we have to access each of the column names by resultSet.getString. So we have to loop through each item and pull off the columns that we'd like. Now, from an API perspective, it seems like it would make more sense just to be able to ask the result set, give me all of my results right now. But when you're working with the database, you can pull back a very, very large number of records. And so if you were to pull those back as just an array list right off the bat, you'd have the possibility of just completely bombing out your Java memory and crashing your application. Now doing it this way, it allows you to pull them off individually, and that gives you the ability to limit the number of results that you pull back so you don't blow out your Java memory. That's just the way things work. Final note, also notice, oftentimes in Java applications, you'll be accessing the database with a separate DAO class, Database Access Object. So you never want to access the database from your own application code. Always make a DAO. In fact, oftentimes it's a good idea to put an interface around that DAO just so that you're not locked into a specific way of getting that data. Perhaps if I wanted to change databases, or if I wanted to move this to a web API, since I coded all my stuff to this app output interface, nope, not that one, this MetroLink DAO interface, where I just say get all stops, now I'm able to swap out anything in the back end without breaking the open-closed principle.